Hi, today we're going to do number 242, valid anagram on LeetCode in JavaScript. So we have two strings as input, and we want to return true if it's an anagram and false otherwise. So anagram is when they have the same character and count. So this is anagram, this is just anagram, they just flip the order of that, and it's true. While this one, the T and the C doesn't match up, so we return false. So when we look at this, there's one way we can do this is that we can sort the strings. So if we sort the strings, we can compare the sorted values. If the sorted values are equal, we return true. We don't have to iterate each one again. So we can sort it and then return if the strings are equal. So now for that one, the time complexity, we're going to do the pre-built sort. So it's going to be O of n log n, for where n is this length of s. Now we have to do it for t as well. So plus m log m, where m is the length of t. And then the space complexity, we will have O of n plus m. I like to use the conservative space complexity for this pre-built sort. Now, how can we improve this? Well, we can use a map. And with the map, we can keep track of the character and how many times it appears. So for this one, A will appear 3 times. This one, A appears 3 times. And we keep doing that for every character. And if the maps have the same value at the end of it, we can tell that it's an anagram. So we use map or an object. So we can just use an object because it's easier to implement. So create object with frequency of characters, and then compare objects. Now for this one, the time complexity, instead of n log n, we're just doing a loop for each string. So we can improve the time complexity to O of n plus m. Let me lowercase that. And now the space complexity. So the space complexity, I was confused that I got tripped off at first, but I was thinking that we're creating a map for each string, so it shouldn't be O of n plus m as well. However, it's O of 1 because at most it's going to be the entire alphabet of object with its corresponding values. So since that's going to be a constant, we can use O of 1. So how else can we do this? Another clever technique that LeetCode uses a lot is using the char code values and using an array to map out the index of the char code values to the corresponding characters. So we can create a frequency array. And then, so we create this new array, create 26 values of an array. And then we loop through S. And when we loop through S, we get the code value map out to 0. So for example, A, if it's an A, that would be the 0 index. B will be the first index. And we can either increment or decrement it. We can increment it the value. And then we loop through T t get char code, and then decrement value. So for here, R index we increment by 1, A increment by 1, T increment by 1, and here we see C decrement by 1, so that would be -1, A would be 0, R would be 0. So how can we tell if it's anagram? Well, if every value is 0, that's an anagram. So we can check array if every value is 0. So what are the time complexities? Since we're iterating both of the strings, we do n plus m. And now the space complexity. Since we have a constant and array value, is going to be O of 1. So which one should we do? Should we do the object one or the array one? Generally, array can be more efficient because an object has to go through this hashing function to get the value. So an array can be a simpler solution for this. So that's why our first choice would be to do this an array. And then after that, I would implement the other solutions as well. So here we create we can validate the inputs. If both of these strings have different lengths, we know that it's not an anagram. So if s.length doesn't equal t.length, return false. Now we do the array const char values. We can call it equals new array of 26, and then we can fill it with 0 first. Now we just do one loop since they both have the same length for now we have to get the char code values. So we can get this of s. So what we're looking at, so A, and then we want to get the char code value of it. So it's going to be that char code at 0 at I, and then we minus it by the A value because char code can have all the characters we want. So A being the first value, and we want to plus that. Now we do the opposite for the T. So minus A. Great, so now we have this an array of all the values, and now we can check if every value is 0 or not. So return so this decrement needs to be inside of the minus minus. Oh, and then this one needs the closing bracket. And that's not equal. Okay, sorry about all that typos. Great. So now let's implement the map solution. So here we can do we have the same validation. Now we do const scount. We can use an object. Const tcount equals an object. And now we loop through one of them. So now scount for the other one I was getting confused with the object syntax. So for this one is equal, we have to check if it currently has a value inside the object. If not, we set it to 0, and then we plus 1 to it. And then for tcount, we just do the same. Now we can loop through the keys of scount for the keys in scount, and now we want to see that they are the same values or not. If they're not, we return false. We return true. So this we check if scount keys, so if does not equal to tcount keys, we can return false. Great, and now we can sort it. So here we keep the same validation. So const sorted s equals s dot split by each character dot join. No, sort first, and then we join it. And then we do the same for t. Split by the character, and then you sort it, and then you join it. And now we return if they're equal to each other. Great. So those are the 3 ways we can solve this problem. We can sort the strings and check if they're equal. We can use an object to check the frequency of each character and compare that. And then instead of an object, we can use an array that uses the index value to map out to the char code value, and use that to check the frequency of each value. And we can just use one of them, and we can increment and decrement each index of the char code, and we can check the array at the end if every value is 0. And that's all. Thank you.